Hello there and welcome to World Panorama. I'm Tracy Shilshi, taking you through your weekly roundup of the top international stories. Let's start with the headlines. The Islamic State carries out deadly attack on Afghanistan's largest military hospital. Nearly 50 are killed and close to 100 injured in the brazen attack. Terrorists are gunned down by the special forces. South Korea's Constitutional Court upholds the impeachment of President Park Geun-Hye, removes her from office in a corruption and influence peddling scandal. Fresh presidential elections to be held within 60 days. Theresa May is dealt a heavy blow on terms of the country's exit from the European Union. The UK government suffers a heavy defeat in a vote in the upper house of Parliament. The US issues a second travel advisory banning citizens of mainly Muslim nations from entering the country, but Iraq is left out of the list. Hawaii, though, becomes the first US state to take legal action against the new ban. Let's start with one of the most brazen terror attacks in Afghanistan, where Islamic State gunmen, dressed up as doctors, attacked the country's largest military hospital. Gunmen disguised as doctors and medics drove an ambulance into Kabul's Sardar Daud Khan Hospital on Wednesday morning and then opened fire on patients and staff members and battled Afghan security forces for hours. At least 50 people, most of them civilians, were killed and twice as many wounded. The assault began when a vehicle bomb detonated outside the front gates of medical complex, a large and heavy guarded compound that is near the US and European embassies, the headquarters of the US-led military coalition, and the Afghan government buildings in central Kabul. The terrorists rampaged through the 400-bed hospital, shooting doctors, patients and visitors and battling security forces for almost 6 hours in a sophisticated operation. They were eventually gunned down. The audacious attack, though the deadliest in the Afghan capital in months, drew immediate condemnation from foreign governments and humanitarian groups and was denounced as an atrocity by the UN mission because it targeted a medical facility.
با حساب ما دو نفر خود دیدیم که در منزل دو یکی سر ما فایر کرد که ما از منزل دو دفعه نورسی رو باز کردم اگه از منزل دو من هم انداختم نارنجک سر میلا کرده بود امو مهاجمین از منزل دو از زینه بالا شده بود به طرف سمت می آمد.
خیلی بالکل یک وحشت بود دیگه به خاطر از اینکه این کسایی که آمده بودم چپنای سفید به تن داشتن چپنای سفید لباسای دکترها را دیگه از این خاطر ما هیچ کس باور نمیکرد که دکتر اصلا یک کلاشینکوف در دستش باشه کسی را بزنه دیگه اینمی جای تعجب است که با استفاده از چپن سفید کشتن انسان ها امی کار بسیار خراب است و خصوصا مریضای ما را تمامش کشتن از بین بردن دکترهای ما را از بین بردن.
Pakistan's former national security advisor has exposed the role of Pakistan in the 26/11 Mumbai attacks. Speaking at the 19th Asian Security Conference in New Delhi, Pakistan's former national security advisor, Major General Mahmood Ali Durrani, said that the Mumbai terror attacks were carried out by a terror group based in Pakistan. Durrani, who was Pakistan's NSA when 26/11 took place, also said that Hafiz Saeed had no utility and Pakistan should act against him. Speaking at the conference, the Defence Minister Manohar Parrikar also said that terrorism is the biggest challenge for world peace and security. He also said that India is bearing the brunt of this proxy war that's going on for several decades. Responding to Durrani's comment, Minister of State for Home, Kiran Rijiju, said that there is nothing new in his remark.
The terrorist attack in Mumbai carried out by a terrorist group based in Pakistan on 26 November 2008 is a classic trans-border terrorist event. I hate to admit this, but this is true.
Afghanistan and India have been victims of this proxy war for decades now. This is why its framing of CCIT, India has included within its ambit action against entities that fund terror groups, propagate terrorist ideologies, and provide safe haven to terrorists.
Now to the US, where the FBI has rejected US President Donald Trump's claims of wiretapping his phone by the Obama administration last year. FBI Director James Comey asked the Justice Department to refute the claims publicly as there was no evidence to support the allegations. The FBI on Monday rejected US President Donald Trump's claim that his predecessor Barack Obama ordered a wiretap on him last year. FBI Director James Comey told the US Justice Department to publicly reject the allegation, saying it insinuated the FBI broke the law. The controversy comes at a time when the Democrats are accusing Trump of trying to distract from a controversy about possible ties to Russia. Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer said that wiretap allegations were beneath the dignity of the office and called on the president to provide proof.
I think the president has made a big mistake by delving into this. He's focused on the issue. He's trying to divert, but he's focusing on it. But either way, there's trouble. If the president stated this without checking it out and it proves to be false, that's serious stuff.
Trump, who faces intense scrutiny over alleged Russian interference in his presidential bid, made the claims in a series of tweets on Saturday without giving evidence.
We're talking about our former president coming after our people in our vote. And if he can do that to him, he would have done that to any one of us.
The White House has asked the U.S. Congress to examine whether the Obama administration abused its investigative authority in the 2016 campaign. A spokesperson for Obama denied the allegation, calling it simply false. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. News now from the United Kingdom, where Theresa May's government suffered a heavy defeat in a vote in the upper house of Parliament on the terms of the country's exit from the European Union. The House of Lords peers backed by 366 votes to 268 a plan to give Parliament the final say over Brexit. The amendment would require the final terms of the UK's withdrawal from the EU to be put to separate votes in the Commons and the Lords. The turnout in the Lords for the vote, in fact, was the largest since 1831. It is the second defeat the Lords has inflicted on May over the Brexit bill after she and her ministers demanded it to be passed by the Lords unamended. The vote could put at risk the Prime Minister's timetable to start talks on quitting the EU later this month.
My Lords. It was a huge vote, the largest vote I think we've ever had in the House of Lords, certainly in the last couple of centuries, and it was a very big majority, which is disappointing for the government, for us Conservatives, and those of us who are trying to provide for what people voted in the referendum last year. This issue will go back to the House of Commons, and I hope that they will knock it back.
And still ahead, the Constitutional Court impeaches South Korean President Park Geun-Hye. Details coming up.
Tales that inspire. Stories of social change. A salute to diversity. Promoting public discourse. Events that motivate. Inspiring the innovative spirit. Watch Rajya Sabha television documentaries.
अंडमान हमारे ख्वाबों का एक शानदार जहां, खामोशियां सुनाती हैं एक दास्तां यहाँ. Most beautiful beach.
It's a very beautiful beach. It's amazing.
It's really like a postcard. It's a place worth visiting.
ले चलेंगे आपको 7 द्वीपों के सफर पर, सिर्फ राज्य सभा टीवी पर.
Welcome back. Now, South Korean President Park Geun-Hye was impeached on Friday, with the Constitutional Court upholding a parliamentary vote to eject her from office for her role in a corruption and influence peddling scandal. The decision triggered violent protests in which 2 people were killed. South Korea now has 60 days to elect a new leader.
South Korea's President Park Geun-Hye became the country's first democratically elected leader to be forced out from office. The country's top court on Friday upheld Park's impeachment and issued a verdict to remove her from office over a corruption scandal involving her close friend. 65-year-old Park was impeached in a parliamentary vote last December.
피청구인을 파면함으로써 얻는 헌법 수호의 이익이 압도적으로 크다고 할 것입니다. 이에 재판관 전원의 일치된 의견으로 주문을 선고합니다. 주문, 피청구인 대통령 박근혜를 파면한다.
The ruling sparked angry protests from hundreds of her supporters as they clashed with the police outside the court. 2 protesters were killed and several others were injured.
이 헌재의 판결을 우리 국민들은 받아들일 수 없습니다. 우리 국민들은 자유민주 대한민국을 위해서 끝까지 저항해 나갈 것입니다.
Soon after the ruling, acting President and Prime Minister Wang Kyo-yan convened a cabinet and National Security Council meet. He called for calm in the country, saying the government should remain stable to prevent internal conflict from spreading.
더 이상 장외 집회를 통해 갈등과 대립을 확대하는 이런 일은 바람직하지 않습니다.
Park is alleged to have been personally involved in using her presidential connections to pressure companies into giving millions of dollars in donations to non-profit foundations that she controlled. She now no longer has immunity as president and could face criminal charges over bribery, extortion and abuse of power. Prime Minister Wang will remain acting president until the presidential election, which will be held within 60 days. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
North Korea has said it was practicing to strike the United States military bases in Japan with its latest barrage of missiles, as it appears to try and outsmart a new American anti-missile battery being deployed. Kim Jong-un presided over Monday's launch of the 4 missiles. The launch and the following announcement is being seen as a brazen declaration of the country's intent to strike enemies with a nuclear weapon if it came under attack. The 4 ballistic missiles fired on Monday morning were launched by the elite Hwasong Ballistic Missile Division. The U.S. has several military bases and about 54,000 military personnel stationed in Japan. 3 of the 4 missiles flew about 600 miles over North Korea and landed in the sea within Japan's economic exclusive zone, also home to the Japanese Self-Defense Forces base. The 4th fell just outside the zone. Now, in more news from the U.S., it has issued a second travel advisory banning citizens of mainly Muslim nations from entering the country from the 16th of March for 12 days. While Sudan, Syria, Iran, Libya, Somalia and Yemen continue to figure in the banned list, Iraq has been left out. Here are more details.
US President Donald Trump signed a revised executive order placing a 90-day ban on people from 6 Muslim-majority nations. The latest order is specific to people from Sudan, Syria, Iran, Libya, Somalia and Yemen, but doesn't apply to those who already have valid visas. Iraq, which was covered in the previous 7-nation order, was removed from the new directive after it agreed to increase cooperation on visa vetting measures. The order takes effect from 16th March and suspends admission of refugees into the US for 120 days.
The president's trying to keep Americans safe, and we know that in these 6 countries that are remaining, those countries are not in a position to actually vet their own individuals trying to leave in an appropriate fashion. So it's okay if we take a short period of time, perhaps 120 days as suggested, and make sure that our policies are in place such that we can do a good job of vetting these individuals coming across.
President Trump also asked for recommendations from state departments of any country that could be included in future suspension of entry into the US. The Trump administration defended the revised travel ban, saying that the order is necessary to protect US from foreign extremists and is not aimed at Muslims.
I think that what we did was completely legal. In accordance with the law and in accordance with the U.S. Code. I think we had a setback at the court, and we had to make a decision ultimately about how to pursue what the president felt was in the best interest of keeping the nation safe. I mean, that's it. And again, I think our ultimate goal would have been to, if possible, pursue both tracks. I think ultimately the advice that the president received was that in order to protect the country as thoroughly as possible and as quick as possible was to pursue this track.
This is the second travel ban since Donald Trump took over as president in January. The first order sparked worldwide outrage and more than 24 lawsuits were filed in US courts against the controversial immigration ban. The state of Washington got it suspended by arguing that it violated constitutional protections against religious discrimination. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
And the state of Hawaii became the first U.S. state to take legal action against President Trump's revised travel ban. The state's attorney general argued late on Wednesday that the new order was pretty much the same as the first one. The new directive, which takes effect from the 16th of March, places a 90-day ban on people from 6 mainly Islamic nations and a 120-day ban on all refugees. Hawaii is seeking a nationwide restraining order blocking the implementation of the order. The state's complaint said that it was suing to protect its residents, businesses and schools, as well as its sovereignty against illegal actions of President Trump and the federal government. Trump had signed a new travel ban order on Monday. His first order was blocked by the U.S. federal courts, which called it unconstitutional. Well, apart from that, much else has unfolded around the world this week. So here's a roundup of the other international news in Globe Watch.
German Chancellor Angela Merkel said Britain's vote to leave the European Union last year should be a wake-up call for the bloc. Merkel reiterated that member states had to be able to press ahead with integration at different speeds. She also reiterated that talks on Brexit could only start once London triggers Article 50 of the EU's Lisbon Treaty, which starts the divorce talks. A video has emerged of the son of Kim Jong-nam, the half-brother of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, who was murdered last month in Malaysia. In the 40-second video, the man says, "My name is Kim Hang-sol from North Korea, part of the Kim family." He says he is with his mother and sister, but there are no details on the date or location. It's the Kim family's first public comment since the murder. The video was posted to YouTube by a group that says it helped rescue the family following Kim Jong-nam's death. Tens of thousands of residents are fleeing the Islamic State's controlled western part of Mosul as Iraqi troops get closer. Many of them escaped on foot, walking for days. For many, this is the first time to get out of Mosul since IS took control in 2014. Hundreds of thousands of Iraqis have been displaced since the military operation to oust IS from Mosul launched in October. Meanwhile, government forces continue to fight IS militants after seeing off a nighttime counterattack. China has called for an immediate ceasefire between ethnic rebels and Myanmar security forces in a restive border area, urging the two sides to resolve their differences through peaceful means instead. Fighters of the predominantly ethnic Chinese Myanmar National Democratic Alliance Army launched a pre-dawn attack on police, military and government sites in Laokai, the capital of Myanmar's northeastern region of Kokang. China is giving humanitarian help to people from Myanmar who have fled fighting that has killed about 30 people and dealt a blow to Myanmar leader Aung San Suu Kyi's goal of reaching peace with minorities. China hiked its military spending by 7% to $152 billion or over $1 trillion yuan. According to Chinese officials, much of this year's budget is expected to go towards developing the navy. This is the first time that China's military spending crossed $1 trillion yuan. The latest hike makes China's defense budget about 3 times higher than India's $53.5 billion.
And now let's shift gears and bring you up to speed with some sports news from around the globe in our segment Sports Action. Barcelona made Champions League history by becoming the first team to overturn a first-leg 4-0 deficit as they knocked out Paris Saint-Germain to reach the quarterfinals of the 10th successive season. The Spanish champions were 5-3 down on aggregate in the 88th minute but scored 3 goals in the final 7 minutes in one of the greatest European ties of all time. Neymar's free kick and penalty, followed by Sergio Roberto's 95th minute winner, sealed the victory on an incredible night at Nou Camp. Barcelona had led 2-0 at the break courtesy of Luis Suarez's header after just 3 minutes and Lewin Kurwaza's own goal. And they added another shortly after half-time when Neymar fell over Thomas Müller in the box and Lionel Messi converted the penalty. LA Galaxy have told Zlatan Ibrahimovic that they are prepared to make him the highest paid player in Major League Soccer history if he joins them from Manchester United this summer. Ibrahimovic joined United only on a 1-year deal last summer. There is an option for the Swede to stay longer, but while the club are desperate to keep him, the 35-year-old is yet to agree. Ibrahimovic has scored 26 goals for United this season. In 2016, Brazilian forward Kaká was the highest paid player in MLS with a published annual salary from Orlando City of $7.2 million. LA Galaxy had paid former England midfielder Steven Gerrard $6.1 million last season. Serena Williams withdrew from the BNP Paribas Open on Tuesday because of a left knee injury, leaving the desert tournament without the world's top-ranked female player. The withdrawal also cost Williams a chance to retain her top ranking. Angelique Kerber of Germany, a 2-time semi-finalist, will supplant Williams at number 1 after the tournament. Williams needed to reach the semi-finals to retain the top spot. She said in a statement released through the tournament on Tuesday that she would also not be playing at the Miami Open, which begins on the 21st of March and is not far from her base in Florida. Russia's anti-doping reforms are not happening quickly enough, says the World Anti-Doping Agency Director General Olivier Nigli. Last year, WADA Commission McLaren report claimed that more than 1,000 Russians benefited from a state-sponsored doping program between 2011 and 2015. Russia's sport leaders have promised to improve the country's record on doping. However, Nigli said it is not happening at the speed that he would have liked. Several sports federations have banned Russian athletes from international competition until the country's anti-doping work has met requirements. Jamaica's reigning 100 meters world champion Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce will miss this summer's World Athletics Championships in London because she's pregnant. The 2-time 100 meters Olympic gold medalist and 3-time world champion plans to return to action in 2018. The 30-year-old sprinter said that she had hoped to defend her title in London. She also added that she was filled with many blessings by God and was thinking about being the greatest mother that she could be with the blessing. And finally, the bronze statue Fearless Girl faced off against Wall Street's iconic strategic charging bull sculpture in New York on International Women's Day on the 8th of March. State Street Global Advisors installed the Fearless Girl in Manhattan as part of the asset managers' campaign to increase the number of women in their clients' corporate boards. It was also an attempt to draw attention to the lack of gender diversity on corporate boards and the pay gap of women working in financial services. So we're leaving you now with a look at how the world took notice of the Fearless Girl.